I never show my 100% my skill because always it was some little problem. Fight with Linares, I had a problem with my shoulder. If we remember Pedraza, it was my first fight after surgery. And Grola, I broke my hand, but I finished this fight. Some guys finished and said no mas. Now I'm healthy, I'm ready mentally for this fight, and I want to win. It will be best fight in my pro career. I will put all my skill on the table. I think it will be very great fight.
Vasyl Lomachenko claims he battled shoulder pain in leading up to the Teofimo Lopez fight, which is contrary to what he stated leading up to the fight, in which he pretty much claimed he was 100% healthy. This was his best training camp, as all of you heard on the audio clip. Now mind you, this is not according to his manager. This is not according to me. This is according to Vasyl Lomachenko. This is straight out of the horse's mouth. Therefore, this excuse right here by Vasyl Lomachenko is equivalent to a criminal leaving DNA evidence at the scene of the crime. So even if this criminal robs a bank, all of that money will go to waste behind a jail cell. So Vasyl Lomachenko can go out of his way to make all of these desperate excuses in order to save face. However, sadly for Vasyl Lomachenko, it's only making him look worse. The shoulder injury excuse holds no weight, knowing the fact that he left DNA evidence at the scene of the crime, on camera, when he admitted he was 100% healthy leading up to the fight. Now all of a sudden, when he got beat by a better man, a better fighter than him, a guy that told him exactly what he's gonna do to him and executed fight night, now reality hit. Vasyl Lomachenko refuses to accept reality. And the sad truth is, he's proven Teofimo Lopez right. Everything Teo stated leading up to the fight, calling Lomachenko a diva, so on and so forth. Now Lomachenko, by being a sore loser, is proving Teo right, showing his true colors in the process. That's why the most dangerous weapon in the world is a microphone and a camera. Word to my man Dante, in which Lomachenko fell the victim to that, leaving the DNA evidence on camera, on tape, when he made that ridiculous excuse, to say the least. And I say ridiculous because I'm about to dissect how ridiculous it was. Therefore, let's talk about it. But before we even talk about the excuse, it's funny to me that Lomachenko, he did not request a rematch right after the fight during the post-fight interview. He did not mention any injury he suffered during the fight. All he did was dig his grave even deeper, which I'm going to explain in a little bit, by stating the obvious, in which he stated he did start off slow. He admitted that. However, he pointed out that he picked up the pace later on the fight. Now, mind you, Vasyl Lomachenko even had his own I beat that boy version of Adrian Broner when he fought Pacquiao. However, during the post-fight interview, he made no mention of any injury he sustained before or during the fight. Furthermore, a couple days after the fight, now Vasyl Lomachenko is coming out with this dusty excuse that we have to brush off before talking about it. To no surprise, according to Kalimas, for the people that might not know who that is, that's the person that's always translating for Lomachenko. I think he happened to be Lomachenko's manager as well. I'm not 100% on that. But he stated, and I quote, when he arrived, meaning Lomachenko, to the States to prepare for the fight, he said in the Ukraine he felt the sharp pain in his right shoulder. We took him right away to Dr. Altarachi to examine him. End of the quote. And according to the article, this was not quoted. 6 weeks before the fight, Lomachenko was given an injection and alerted both the VADA and Nevada State Commission. According to Kalama's quote, "We lost 1 week of training. We lost 1 week of sparring because the doctor forbade him to do much for a week after the injection." End of the quote. And the best part is yet to come. According to Kalamas, he added that a few weeks later, the pain flared up during sparring so much that Lomachenko was given another injection. And his father/trainer wanted out of the fight. Quote, "wanted out of the fight," Kalama said. Although news of the injury came quickly right after the loss Saturday night, Kalama said, quote, "We did not want to look like we were looking for excuses or something." End of the quote. Well, if this ain't looking for an excuse, I don't know what is. Lomachenko in the process ended up looking for embarrassment because even ESPN this time around is not going to be able to erase this capital L that Teo gave Loma. Even Stevie Wonder could see the excuses coming a mile away. And Kalamas, he's trying to convince the public he's not looking for excuses. Even though Kalamas is pretty much at the edge of the climax excuse story of his. Last but not least, he never disappoint. Quote, "If it's possible, we would like to have the rematch. If they are so tough, are they willing to come back and do that? Question mark." End of the quote. For what though? All for what? So Lomachenko could put us to sleep again? Not throw a single punch for like half of the fight? Or perhaps out of curiosity to hear Lomachenko come up with another excuse that's logical this time around. That's more creative, that makes actual sense, that holds any weight. So as far as I know, Lomachenko has to go back to the drawing board in order to put himself in position, since he was a diva all along. So as far as Lomachenko not being able to train proper leading up to the fight, that's debunked by Lomachenko himself.
I never show my 100% my skill because always it was some little problem. A fight with Linares, I had a problem with my shoulder. If we remember Pedraza, it was my first fight after surgery. And Krola, I broke my hand, but I finished this fight. Some guys finished and said no mas. Now I'm healthy, I'm ready mentally for this fight and I want to win. It will be best fight in my pro career. I will put all my skill on the table.
Therefore, there is nothing to discuss there. As far as I know, that's case closed, and that's clear as day. However, as far as Lomachenko suffering an injury in the second round against Lopez, in which he hurt his shoulder, that's completely BS. How you gonna injure yourself? Not throwing a single punch or landing a single punch in the first round. And in the second round, he landed 1 or 2 punches. So how you injure yourself? Not throwing punches. That makes no logical sense. Lomachenko is trying to justify why he wasn't active early on in the fight by claiming he suffered an injury in the second round, which makes no sense, so on and so forth, because he came on strong in the later half of the fight. So what happened to the injury then? Now, it would have had made more sense if Lomachenko was heavily active early on in the fight. He was outboxing, outworking Teo, and then the later part of the fight, all of a sudden, his punch output dropped tremendously. Then that would have had made so much sense. If that was the case, then you could justify using that excuse. However, sadly for Lomachenko, it was the other way around. Lomachenko is trying to convince the public that he injured himself in the second round in order to justify his punch output being really low, not throwing any punches for the early part of the fight. However, the harsh reality is, if there's any truth to that, Lomachenko punch output would have been really low the whole night. He would not have been able to pick up the pace and the punch output in the 8th round. That does not happen. If you suffered an injury during a fight, it's gonna last all night. You are not Goku. You're not going to be able to heal midway through the fight. Loma picked up the pace in the 8th round all the way to the 12th. So even if he is Goku and he healed with a sense of being in the corner, then Teo got to be Bruce Lee the way he nearly knocked him out in the 12th round. But the harsh reality is, this ain't UFC. You are not going to pop the bone out of socket and pop it back in socket and get the job done. And that was clearly not the case. A fun stat for the people that's not informed, Vasyl Lomachenko landed 7 power punches in the first 6 rounds. So can somebody explain to me how a person going to injure himself without throwing punches while his form is 100% right and his arm is in position? And to kill the notion all around the board, they were not even being physical with each other. They fought at a distance for the majority of the first 7 rounds. How is somebody going to end up injuring himself in the process? That makes no sense, so on and so forth. And to make matter worse, Loma was physical in the later part of the fight. So how was he able to be physical in the later part of the fight with an injury? Truth be told, the shift happened in the fight in which Lomachenko picked up the pace in the 8th round after he headbutted Teo. After he headbutted Teo and came with his head first, that's when the shift changed. So on top of Lomachenko fighting dirty, Teo still managed to beat Lomachenko with ease 8-4. Teo easily won the first 7 rounds and the 12th round. Even some of the rounds Lomachenko won, they could have went either way. Lomachenko had a life and death experience in order to pull off a round or 2. On the other hand, Teo won so many rounds without even trying, all because Lomachenko was nervous once he felt Teo power. Lomachenko's supposed to be the Matrix, as far as we know. The way old media put it, he's supposed to be Goku in Ultra Instinct. As soon as Teo hit him with a punch or 2, all of a sudden, that game plan went out of the window. Like Mike Tyson says, everybody got a game plan till they get hit. And Lomachenko, he realized everything Teo Sr. told him was real when he got in the ring with Teo. You guys have to realize, a real injury during a fight will shift the momentum of the fight completely going forward, especially stylistically. For example, when Floyd Mayweather got dropped for the first time, not because he got hit and hurt, however, because he actually scored and hurt his own hand. Therefore, Floyd Mayweather went from being an offensive machine in that fight looking for a KO to a defensive fighter for the rest of the night. Matter of fact, Floyd Mayweather even switched southpaw for the majority of the night. At no point in that fight, Floyd Mayweather felt like, oh, well, my hand is back normal now. Because if you're going to sustain an injury, it will last all night. And the fact that Lomachenko doctor is telling him he's going to be able to train like he usually does in a couple months, it sounds like a Pacquiao excuse. Therefore, it wasn't an injury that prevented Lomachenko from letting his hands go. It was Teo's skill, proving that he's a better fighter than Lomachenko. Lomachenko could have all of the advantages, all of the experience in the world, in the amateurs, in the pros. Lomachenko is 32 years old, in the peak of his prime. However, skills pay the bills, even though Teo is only 23, making his first title defense against Lomachenko. He proved, unlike Canelo Alvarez, that he was born ready for this, and he lived up during the moment. Therefore, there's no point for a rematch, because the only thing that's going to come with it is another excuse by Lomachenko. Teo is a better fighter than Lomachenko. He's more special than Lomachenko. He have more power and more skill than Lomachenko. I always tell people the amateurs and the pros are completely two different sports, and Teo proved that tonight, showing that he's a better talent than Lomachenko. And if they fight 100 times, you best believe Teo most likely win 99 out of them 100 times. So I encourage Lomachenko to visit Manny Pacquiao in the Philippines in order to show him where that sea he was swimming in that held his shoulder with the salt water. That's what I encourage Lomachenko to do. After all, according to Lomachenko, he dreamed to be as great as Manny Pacquiao. But shockingly, he turned down a fight with a grandpa version of Manny Pacquiao at 135. However, ironically, he utilized Manny Pacquiao shoulder excuse he pulled on Floyd Mayweather. So at least if you're going to utilize Manny Pacquiao's greatest excuse of his career that he pulled on Floyd, at least fight the man. But just like Lomachenko avoided the dream Devin Haney, in which he stated his dream fight is Floyd Mayweather. However, ironically enough, Devin Haney automatically became his nightmare because that was Floyd Mayweather prodigy. He chose to avoid Devin Haney, requesting a French fries title instead, aka a witness protection belt, all to hit a wall against Teo the next fight. That's why I tell you guys all of the time, 3 things that can never be hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. They will always come out. And peep game, these 3 things I pointed out always take time, a certain amount of time. If you may wonder why that is, because everything happened for a reason. The sun is there for a reason. The moon rotates for a reason. And the truth come out always in time for a reason. It's all God planned. So old media could erase Lomachenko losses as much as they want. His hope insurance could activate. But one thing old media can't do for Lomachenko, besides hyping him up, lying to the public, so on and so forth, is fight for Lomachenko. He still have to get in the ring and fight for himself. So yes, he could avoid a Devin Haney, the A-class boogeyman in the sport of boxing, but he ran into a wall called Teofimo Lopez. With that being stated, quit making excuses, make shit happen. And I'm telling you right now, it's only getting worse for Lomachenko and old media. They went from Gennady Golovkin to Kovalev to Chocolatito and now Lomachenko. So we'll see who's next. However, when it comes to Lomachenko, man, the end is near, because you have Devin Haney, you have Shakur, Gervonta. All of them fights smell trouble for Lomachenko. Therefore, in the comment section below, drop your take on Lomachenko excuse that did not age well, since it was debunked by Lomachenko himself. So subscribe below if you're trying to get smart about the minute. If you're trying to get dumb about a second, don't. And listen to these decaps, the dumb, casual ass fans that don't know shit about boxing beside old media. Shout out to my bro Ski, my Akhi Dante, for being the entrepreneur of new media that I'm a part of. And if you're a casual fan and you want to be a hardcore boxing fan, all you have to do is click on the notification bell to get notified every time I post or go live on Split Decision. It's a boxing debate / talk show, mixed, master, engineered, produced by yours truly, Akhi, the past, present, and future undisputed pound for pound. When it comes to debating, I got these decaf shook. They scared to look every time Akhi's on TV, because the truth is always bad news for these decafs. since the truth happened to be the decaf's kryptonite. You decafs can't handle the truth. That's why Akhi's still undefeated, because the truth is undefeated. Therefore, I wish a decaf would call in. I mean, a million, a billion, matter of fact, a trillion of you decafs can't hold me back. So, grow some cojones and call in. Quit treating Akhi like the Iron Mike Tyson of debating, the young Devin of debating, and call in. And to be continued on the next episode of Akhi TV. Peace, and we out here.